Good morning! Thank you for joining me at 7:30 in the morning in this car full of mosquitoes. Putting my center console and my dash piece back in. Yesterday I wrapped them in vinyl, which was the most terrible thing ever. I hope I never have to do that again. And the reason I'm making this video is I've wanted to talk about the R34's display computer. It's MFD for quite a while. I do have one that is usually installed in the car. It's not installed right now. I had to take it out to take the center console out. My car is an S15 Silvia, but it does have an RB26, which came out of an R34 GTR, and I also have the MFD fitted to the car. The reason I went with the MFD was I didn't want, tons of gauges everywhere and lots of little things installed on the dash. So it's pretty convenient. Shows boost pressure, it shows oil temperature, and it's really all that you need to know about an RB26. But you also get a lot of other parameters that it displays as well. To talk about the MFD itself, I'll show you the boards and then show you how exactly I installed them in the car. I apologize for this perspective, but enjoy looking at this mess of wires and shoo these mosquitoes out of the way. The MFD actually bears some superficial similarities to the Sega 32X of all things. And I'll pull it down here off of the dash. There are these two boards. You have this board on which all of the power supply and everything is contained. Oh, these mosquitoes. Also, the video is routed through this board. And then you have this board where the processors and the memory are located. And as I was referring to the 32X, it actually has the same, well, not the same processor, but it's a similar processor. It's a Hitachi Super H processor. The Sega 32X has two of them. The MFD board has one. And I know that the GPU is different. The processor itself, it's a different model number. Something's a little bit different with this processor. Its ROM is over here. I don't know if you can see that. Here's the ROM, and here's the RAM over here. These ROM packages, they are 44-pin TSOP packages. These are actually very similar to the ones that would be used in something like a Sega Game Gear cartridge. So there's a lot of Sega going on here for whatever reason. This is an original MFD, the kind that would have come in the base model R34, like the first edition of it. This MFD is a little bit different from the later models. I think there was a different one in the V-Spec model. There is a Nismo board that a lot of people like to upgrade to. It gives you some extra features. And if you look at the Nismo boards, they're a little bit different. I don't have one here. The Nismo board actually has a little bank of dip switches. You can see there's a space for it on the board. And also you get this extra ROM that's over here. And I'm guessing that's where the additions to the software come. In theory, it might be possible to take that bank of ROMs off of that Nismo board and attach them to this one and have it work. I've thought about dumping these ROMs actually, but that would mean removing them from the board. And actually I have another spare board from which I could do that, but I need a special adapter to read these packages, so I haven't gotten around to it as of yet. You can see this big white wire that's hanging off of this board. I've done this actually because on another board I had messed up the sync pin located on the video header right here. And so I bypassed it by taking sync directly from the video processor. And this is the video processor right here. But anyway, those are the boards. In order to display them on my screen, which is usually located right here, it's not located there now. It sits right up here like this. I'm actually using RGB to RCA converter, just like you would use if you're making a super gun or something for an arcade machine. I have, let's see, these video cables running through here, and then I have a power cable for this that runs directly into it. And you'll see how all of this stuff fits into the center console when I get it back together. So what I'm going to do is to get my center console in place, and then I will come back. So we're seeing, get out there, you piece of shit. We're seeing these, we're seeing this come together. I have it sitting in the bottom, and I'm sorry, I have a bit of an allergy problem. You have to excuse my sniffling. I have it sitting here in the bottom, It's mounted at each of these four corners, and it's screwed up from the bottom. That's why, in order to take this center console piece out, I have to take the whole MFD board out, unscrew it on the bottom, because the screws on the back are underneath this. You can see on the side here where I've mounted the video signal converter. Here's where the MFD's harness comes out. Here's the harness that I've created for the controls, situated over here next to my steering wheel. So I actually have that harness routed all the way down under here, through here, and then it comes out here. So anyway, I'll keep putting this back together and we'll see it as it takes shape. Okay, and here I've got the video harness connected, and while I was doing that I noticed that my illumination wire on my control harness is actually broken, so I'll have to fix that. That's kind of a bummer. Not such a big deal. This is the video harness, and I believe this is the... Gosh, there are two different styles of monitor. One is a Sharp and one is a Toshiba. I believe this is the Sharp connector, and it just has this one little zip socket here where the ribbon cable slots into. There is another style connector, which I believe is the Toshiba screen, and that one actually has two connectors where like the video power or something is separated from the actual video signal connector. I'm not too sure about that one. That's not the one that I have, but this is what came on the original board. Actually, I have feeding into this FC cable, and here you can very clearly see this board outputs RGB. It's just a regular RGB signal like an old arcade machine or something might output. And I have that going into this little header here. You can see the different wires, red, green, blue. Here's my sync wire that's running to the bottom of the processor board. And I have those terminating over here at this harness. That's the complete installation of the MFD, more or less, aside from that broken wire, which is bothering me now. And so hopefully, if everything has been installed okay, if I haven't screwed anything up, we can get the rest of the dash put together. So that has to go back together, and then I can fire it up and let you see it work. So here we go. Okay, so now that's all buttoned up, and close this. Walk around here. I've reconnected the battery already off camera, but make sure whenever working with the MFD you have your battery disconnected, or doing anything electrical for that matter. Let's see, we zoomed in. Yeah, zoom out a little bit. Pop this SD card. Okay, let's make sure she still starts, and let's see if we can get the MFD on screen. There she is. And I've just realized it's really early in the morning. I just started my very loud sports car here. Sorry, neighbors. Let's see. Let's see if my EDFC will come back on. Yay! Still works. Okay, so in order to get the MFD running, I have a switch over here that also my in-dash computer and some other things are also wired to the switch, but I just pop the switch on. We should get a screen. And we'll go to video 2. We have it. There's the MFD. There's our boost. Make sure the controller still works. Yep. Okay. And here you can see all the parameters it actually displays. You have boost at the top, and then throttle and so on, you can see. And these sensors in the center, we have oil temp, water temp, and exhaust temp. These actually don't come on until they're a certain degree. The exhaust temp doesn't come on until 400 degrees Celsius. The water temp and the oil temp don't come on until about 70 or 80. But as the car warms up, you see those come on. And that's really all there is to it. You can see the buttons the way that I've wired them over here. This button here actually changes between the different kinds of displays, and there are 1, 2, 3 main ones. For this display here, it actually shows you a twin gauge, and you can alter this by pressing this button right here. On my setup anyway, yours would be different obviously. Use the joystick, navigate over to select, press the joystick. You can save 4 twin gauges in here. I actually just have 1, and that I use quite often. If you want to change that, you go here. Here's twin 1. Let's say for our left side gauge we can have boost, and then for our right side gauge we could have, I don't know, injector duty, whatever. And there it is there. You can see it work. Change back to the main display. Make sure the throttle's working. Yep, throttle works, boost works. Everything looks good. Okay, well, that's how the MFD goes into my car. Of course, your application would be different. Hopefully you're putting your MFD into an actual Skyline. Mine's kind of a hack job, but is what it is. You could probably fit it to some other different kinds of cars. I don't know if it would work with the stock sensors on something like an SR20 or something like that, but it's a possibility. So give it a shot, something to experiment with. If you're really interested in the MFD, check out R34 MFD on Facebook. Shout out to that guy because he's a really helpful and knowledgeable dude. Anyway, I'll go ahead and stop right there. Thank you all for joining me this morning. I'm going to go back into the house, get a shower, and get some breakfast. Peace.